What's up guys, welcome back. My photographic subject matter, not just limited to models. In fact, there are no models in this video at all. For this shoot, we were shooting some timber fallers in the Pacific Northwest, telling their stories, highlighting what they do for a living, and that's something I'm super grateful for my in-house job for. I get to experience a lot of things that I might otherwise never be exposed to and never get to see, and that's definitely the case with this shoot. It was extremely difficult, but it wound up being one of my favorites that I've done in a long time. At the surface level, the purpose of this shoot was pretty simple and straightforward. Sell work boots and sell workwear. But the bigger picture behind it was to tell an authentic story about some blue-collar workers who bust their asses every day at a job that's hard as shit so that we can all have roofs over our heads. It was extremely challenging. I'm old and out of shape, but these guys are tough as nails, and keeping up with them was a challenge. The shoot took place in Oregon on a super early rainy morning, big surprise there, and because of that, the logging site that we were shooting at was a quagmire of mud, branches, bristles, leaves, all kind of crap. We hiked a mile while shooting shots of them getting ready, gearing up, and moving through the space on our way to the stand of trees that we were tasked with cutting. We initially set up on our first trees at the base of a super steep hill. I knew we had a limited number of trees on our arboreal hit list for the day, and that as the day went on, we'd just get soggier, grumpier, and more importantly, the rain could dissipate at any time. It's the Pacific Northwest. I wanted it to be rainy and gloomy, very moody, so we got to work as quickly as possible. Brennan and I worked out a system where, for the face cut of the tree, I could get up close and personal, getting showered in wood chips, but when he was ready to make the back cut, which is what would bring the tree down, he would signal me so I could get the hell out of the way and not die. Oh, I just got poked in the asshole by the bush.
You're gonna have him come back and then run that tape?
Yeah.
Coming down, that kind of tape is behind him.
For sure.
Kind of rolling and stuff, and then maybe just Brennan's either out of frame or just on the end of it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Why don't we do, you're saying for like looking at the log this way. How about we do that last?
Okay.
Because then I can be on that side.
Gotcha.
And we'll shoot with like this
Gotcha.
more way
yeah,
more
then
depth.
you get some open. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
How far down this log do you want to go?
I don't really mind.
I was kind of thinking maybe just like tucking in between some of these.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's something to get some of that mossy.
That's what I was thinking.
As I approach you, the view will clear up.
Cool. Alright, let's talk about settings for a second. And that's not something I talk about very often because I fucking hate it when photographers suggest very specific settings for any given subject matter. The settings that I use on this shoot are not a recipe that may ever work on anything that you might ever shoot, but there are a few things from a conceptual standpoint that I think were worth mentioning. The first of which was depth of field. I knew the shoot would have a lot of very busy backgrounds with trees and branches and leaves all over the place, and I didn't want that to distract from the subjects. So I planned to shoot this thing as wide open as I possibly could. Pretty much the entire shoot was shot between f2.8 and f4, and I tried to use as long of a focal length as possible, except for in wide shots basically. The second thing worth noting as far as settings go was the shutter speed. I knew there'd be wood chips flying around all over the place, so I wanted to keep that sense of dynamic action and have a little bit of motion blur to it, but I needed to balance it with keeping the talent sharp and the clothes looking good. So I basically shot the entire shoot around 1/250th of a second to a 3/20th of a second and dialed in the exposure with ISO. Just a personal note here, the sights and sounds and smells of this shoot was unreal. The feeling and sound of a 40 to 60 foot tree falling down is really hard to describe, and it's something that you feel pretty much in your soul. And I can understand why these guys do this job, and honestly, it's not just a job for them, it's a lifestyle. And I think if I was 20 years younger, I'd probably want to do it too. We continue to shoot the guys putting in work with the occasional wardrobe change. Typically on a shoot like this, we're shooting 10 to 12, sometimes even more looks per talent. But because of the challenges of the location here, we only shot 3 or 4 looks per guy, and that meant more time per look shooting and getting as much variety as possible. When I'm shooting, I'm keeping in mind that I need wide scenic shots, which our creative director likes to call the small person, big space. I need portraits, I need the hero shot, I need detail shots, I need product shots, wides, longs, mediums, basically as much visual variety as humanly possible. And when you have fewer looks, that becomes so much easier and way more fun, and you get to explore a lot more. Once we finished shooting the guys falling timber, we shot some heavy machinery, taking those trees and trimming them down, loading them onto trucks and sending them off on the next step of their journey. And actually that was the whole purpose of this campaign, to show the journey that a tree goes through from living thing in the ground all the way to a usable material in the construction of what will become a family home. We went on to shoot a lumber mill where they take the raw logs and turn them into usable lumber, and then eventually a construction site where a family home was being framed in the Seattle suburbs. Like I said, this is one of my favorite shoots that I've done in a really long time. I put my crusty old brain and my gear to the test. It was creatively and physically challenging, and I got to spend a day learning about something that I've never been exposed to before. These guys are badass, and they do a job that's really important. They're not just walking into the woods cutting random trees down. This is a harvestable crop, like corn or wheat or anything really, and they're doing it so that we can have roofs over our head and buildings in our cities. And when they're not doing that, they're out with wildland firefighters cutting burnt trees down in fire mitigation so that they can stay safe and that we don't have out of control wildfires. It's pretty badass. I really enjoyed my time with them. I learned a lot, and I'm glad I got to experience this. That's all for this week. I'm actually leaving the day after this shoot publishes for a trip abroad for a photo shoot that I will be able to share more about in the wintertime. So because of that, there probably won't be a video for a few weeks. Sorry, I knew it was gonna happen, you knew it was gonna happen. It's just a fact of life. But if you have any questions about this shoot, throw them down in the comments and I'll answer as many as I can. Although, what the hell, is that a pterodactyl? Fuck, man, why am I struggling so bad today?